Starting out, we have direct damage, which most snipers, cannons, assault rifles, and the like deal. Next is splash damage, which most howitzers and rockets deal. In most cases, they will only do splash damage, but I'll go and talk about the exceptions a little bit later. Next up is heat damage by flamethrowers, Hades, and 160 weapons. It's applied in an interesting way, and I'll go and explain that a little bit more following up. And then finally, falling damage, about a MAV height or so, and higher is when it starts being applied when you fall down, and hovers can never take that. To better explain it, I'm going to go and talk about the different kinds of ammunition that weapons fire and what type of damage they deal. Starting out, we have the kinetic rounds that deal only direct damage. What you see is what you get out of those, and the only really way of modifying that is dodging it, or maybe putting a wall deploy up so it hits that instead. After that is high explosive rounds, which on the point of impact, about a meter along its line, is the center of the explosion. So it's not directly where it hits, but about a meter off. Any part within its radius that it can see from that center point will get hit by splash damage. The farther away the part is from that center point, the less damage it takes. And then also, the armor on that part will lessen that to a further degree, all the way up to 100% if it has 100 armor. An interesting thing to know is that bases have a negative 100 armor, so they take double the damage from explosions. Interesting thing as well is Screamer rockets and multi-rockets also deal direct damage along with the splash damage, meaning that they're very good at dealing with any parts that have a high armor, since they actually still deal damage, and against bases since they deal 3 times the amount that's advertised. Next up is the different types of heat damage, and this is breaking up into the 160s and the flamethrower slash Hades. So the chemical rounds uh, apply heat to a part which increases its temperature. When that part's temperature goes above its threshold plus a little bit of a buffer, it starts taking damage based on the number, its heat value over its threshold. So if it's 50 hotter than its threshold, it'll take 50 damage every time it's applied. Naturally, parts have a natural cooling into the environment, and then connected parts will go and cool that as well as the heat spreads out through your build. The best counter for this is generally radiators and other parts that have built-in radiators, such as certain cockpits and chassis, as it will cool you off faster, in most cases mitigating completely or at least partially the heat buildup. And then we have flames from flamethrowers in Hades, which applies a special on-fire debuff to a part that continually applies heat damage over time. This is a very large amount of heat damage too. I think it's something like 150 to 350 heat damage every tick that it applies. So it's very good at dealing heat damage, especially when combined with chemical round weapons, which chemical round weapons also deal direct damage. The best way of mitigating this uh, is using a fire suppression auxiliary, which instantly removes the on fire debuff, along with a 1000 cooling to all parts in its cone of fire, meaning that if you were taking heat damage, it would instantly negate that. Finally, onto falling damage. There's not really any way of directly applying this. You could maybe push a guy off a ledge on Giant Leap with concussion rockets, or maybe take a spatula build, lift him up and drop him. But there's no real way of doing it easily. I would like to thank everyone for watching, especially my Patreon subscribers, Rusty Elite, Rovendug, Woodalus, hopefully I went and said that name right, and Rusty Shackleford.